Hello and welcome the lovely Jen. Jen is here to tell our story on domestic violence. Is that what you say? Is that how you would describe it?
Domestic abuse, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, isn't it? October, so it's domestic abuse, domestic violence. Aye.
So it was important to you to do this in October?
Yeah, well, not necessarily. It's important the whole year round, but I was sort of in a place where I was like feeling that I was in survival mode totally, and then sort of coming out of that, I feel like I'm starting to thrive now. So like I just feel like I want to help others, and by sharing my story, other folk will see that and it might help them. Other folks' stories helped me.
Yeah, and it always does. There's always somebody out there that will relate to what you're saying, or you know what happened to you or whatever. Thank you for coming to do it. I know you're really nervous, which is completely understandable, because you've just been telling me that that's you only now 1 year no contact completely, and 1 year isn't a long time, so it's still quite fresh.
So my ex was convicted in August last year. Convicted in June and then sentenced in August last year. And there was sort of bail condition or a non-harassment order with special conditions in place that we could be in contact for the children. So we were in contact from sort of the August until the October for like the children, and I was still, what you call it, trauma bonded in the situation, and to the idea of it possibly still working, going round the cycle all the time, and then it just wasn't working, and it was still quite abusive, and a couple of things happened in the October. I just decided, listen, you're going to have to, we had it in place through our lawyers that he should be like picking up the kids through a third party, but it kind of made that difficult sometimes, and basically I just said, you're going to need to do it through the third party that we've got arranged, and I blocked him. So that was like, I'm sure it was the 29th of October last year. And I've not had a conversation with him since then.
So essentially you were still, as you say, trauma bonded and trying to make things work to that point.
It had been going on for so long, and they talk about the cycle of abuse, and I mean, so my son's 9.5 now, so could say I was in it for maybe 11 plus years. So from the very beginning, it was looking back and being in the no contact, the realisation that everything that happened is just, it's so, you know, I feel as if, like I was saying, I've been in shock and I've been in survival mode for like so long in the no contact. Sorry, what was the question? I'm lost.
What did I ask you? I was just saying that you're only a year out of it.
So I was going round and round the cycle for so long, and they always say it's like, you see it online, it takes the average 7 times to leave. No, I don't, like 777,000 times. I know. For me, like, but there is something to be said about the psychology behind this cycle of abuse, and it because it's toxic, and it's like an addiction to something that's toxic. So it's just probably like drugs and alcohol and other things that makes you happy, then makes you sad, makes you happy, makes you sad.
And you stay in it just for those wee glimmers
of it's hope,
happiness.
And hope. You hang on to hope, and sort of the good times are good, and the bad times are bad, but you accept them more and more, and it's easier. Like the sort of longer you probably relinquish your boundaries, it's easier.
And you've got 2 kids, haven't you? And there's always that you take, and whether, you know, you could debate that till the cows come home as well, but most mums do consider the kids.
So
and take that into
it was
account.
always, so one of my reasons for being, well, not excuses, because I think there's an element in accountability that I feel like us as victims / survivors do need to take, because at the end of the day, it is a choice. We do make choices. You can be trauma bonded, but if you're not educating yourself, if you're not doing the right things like self-love or whatever, do you know what I mean? Your boundaries are all shot to hell. So it's just this cycle. So I feel as if one of the reasons I maybe stayed in it was because I always had the feeling that if I wasn't a part of the family unit, if we were to separate, he would just ditch the Waynes. He would just eventually ditch them. That was always sort of in the back of my mind.
And is that what's happened?
That's what's happened.
That's so sad. So going back to the beginning of that relationship and what happened, were you married?
No, we weren't married, no.
But you were with him for, did you say 11 years?
Yeah.
And you've got 2 kids together until just last year when you completely, as you were with him, until you completely broke contact just a year ago.
With him as in separated, but he was in his own house, I was in my own house, but technically on and off still, still... you know,
I get it. Aye. So, what do you talk about? What happened in the relationship when it went down that road? What happened to you?
Basically, when I look back on it, it was from the start. So he is actually nearly 16 years older than me, and so at the time I was in like mid-20s, he was like early 40s, and it didn't seem that much at the time, and we met in the workplace, and it was just that sort of love bombing thing that would happen. So he would like take my keys and go and leave me chocolate in my car, clean my car out, send me emails. My mum worked for us at the time. We'd like make a big deal about making my mum coffee in the morning. And
was it a business? No, was it his business?
No. We met in the workplace, so we worked in the same place. And I kind of knocked him back a few times, and I didn't really know anything about him and whatever. And then I did sort of start dating him, and it was weird. Like the dating was kind of weird because we would like go on dates after work, and then he'd come down at the weekend, but he would never really like stay or anything. And I started to ask questions, and I never had Facebook at the time, and it turns out he was with somebody. So when I actually questioned him about that at the time, it was all the excuses under the sun. I'm just living there because X, Y and Z were actually separated. And so then there was times when he could come and stay. So I believed a lot of the things he was saying to me. And then I ended up, one of my pals, I think, snooped on his Facebook and told me something. So I ended up...
Is that how you found out he was with somebody in the first place? Somebody else told you?
Aye. And so I made my own Facebook, and I went on and seen it for myself. So I would break it off, and then he'd give me an excuse, and then we'd talk again, and then I'd break it off. And then one day I was actually waiting in a taxi to go out with my friends. He showed up at my house and says, "Right, that's me, I'm moving in. You're not going out, cancel that taxi." And I was like in absolute shock, obviously, but I was like, I didn't know what to do, so I did cancel the taxi, because he says to me, if you go out, I'm just going back up the road. So so
that would be the very start of it then.
But during the time where he was up, like with his ex and I was in my own house and we weren't like living together, he would sort of be controlling about what I was doing at the weekend and stuff. So that would start, I would get the moaning if I was going out with my friends, and I'd have to be, I remember going on a hen weekend and I had to be on the phone to him the whole time. I know I'm in this party of girls and it was like, just needed to talk to me, needed, you know, and looking back then it was, I felt sort of so loved.
So that's how you felt at the time. It's only looking back that you realise
it was pure sinister.
But at the time you were caught up in the whole romantic idea of it all.
So he moved in, and the day he moved in, he just changed. He was just a different guy. And so this would have been before TikTok really was out, right? And you'll notice the word narcissist gets flung about all the time. So what people would comment, so I would kind of say to my pals or my family, oh, I can't do this because he can't do this, or he's moaning at me or stuff like that. And they would be like, he's a control freak. So it was like, that was the word that was sort of being used to describe him.
That used to be, you're right, that was a phrase that was used quite a lot.
Aye, because
back
narcissist,
in the day.
I had never heard
it's quite a new word,
TikTok.
narcissist. But then when you Google it and you look it up, it's always that, oh my God,
because I'll
moment.
talk about that like a wee bit. So he moved in and basically like wanted to like redecorate my whole house, which was quite exciting. What else? This is where the sort of, I would say, coercive and sort of financial abuse started to happen. I had like a company car and I didn't need a new car or anything. So basically within the first sort of year, I had a finance for a 40 grand Audi convertible. I had a boat.
Oh my God.
I had a Tag Heuer watch, and I had purchased a Tag Heuer watch for him. Now, Tag Heuer could have been my next door neighbour. Like, I was not.
meant nothing.
I was getting pressure to buy a caravan. I was getting pressure to, like, give up my career in finance and open a hot dog hut across the road for me. I was getting pressure to open a second-hand furniture store. So it was like he came to me and basically wanted me to facilitate what he wanted in life. But I was studying to be an accountant at the time, and I had, do you know, like, I didn't want to open a hot dog hut.
Did you do that?
No, but it was.
But you took out the finance for all those other things.
I took the finance.
You had a boat.
I had an actual boat, right? So I had an Audi convertible that was in my name. That it was like I fronted the deposit. I think it was £500 at the time, and it was like, I will give you half of that or whatever, and never got that. The boat as well, finance for the boat, my name, and it's like, I feel embarrassed telling you this because you must think, what a stupid bitch. Like,
no, I don't think that. I don't think that at all. All I think is that's what happens. That's how people can control other people.
What would happen was, so like it was the boat and then the things that went with the boat, and then it was, he got me a Tag Heuer watch. It was this big grand gesture, and I was like, I think he took a loan out to get me this watch, and I was being made redundant at the time, when I feel as if I was coerced into spending my redundancy money on his Tag Heuer watch. And I always remember the day, like, he took me up to one of the family's house, and it's as if he was parading us, like, we always had to go in our best gear. So I would have just wore leggings and whatever before, but he was like a fully Armani, you know, like designer type guy, so we had to go in our best gear. And I can remember the day he was like, took us up and paraded both our watches. And then that's where that sort of narcissistic part comes in, of the like that grandiose, you know, like image. It's all the ego and how you look. So then obviously looking back, the boat, the Audi, the watch, and the other things, if they did go ahead, would have made him look really successful.
But the whole time you were being coerced into finance
So
agreements.
when I say coerced, it's like, it's hard to explain, because it wasn't like he was holding me by the arm and saying, you better do this. He was throwing full on adult tantrums.
No, yeah, but that's where, like, I understand you've obviously done your research. I know a fair bit about it as well. If you research narcissist, there's no, I mean, physical abuse can come into it, but that's not what narcissist means. I mean, you can bully somebody.
Well, this is
without hitting them.
Do you know, this is one of the things that annoys me about the word narcissist getting thrown about, because when it came into my head, I did research it. See, when you actually learn about narcissistic personality disorder, it's scary.
It's extremely twisted.
Yes, and so insidious. And these people are actually, obviously it's a spectrum, but if somebody's shown all the traits and, you know, you're starting to think, what am I dealing with here? That is, it's scary. And if it is a personality disorder, and it was one of the hardest ones to diagnose, because they don't,
because it's so deep
and
twisted.
They don't think that they're wrong. So they're not going to sit in front of a psychologist and say, yes, I know what I mean. So you can't go about calling folk narcissists, but the traits are really abusers. Show a lot of the traits. It's common knowledge, and it's scientific knowledge, like abusers do show a lot of the narcissistic traits. So that thing with the financial abuse, I believe, was to make him look good. And actually during, so after his arrest, he ended up getting his own car, and after he was arrested, it was no contact for a period of about 4 months or something like that. And he had his car, I had his car, and he had my car. His car was better for me, like with the kids and whatever, but they were coming to my door to repossess his car. They had the van at the front, but I had his car parked up the back. And obviously it was just after his arrest, so there was like no bail and there was absolutely no contact. I ended up having to go and steal my own car back off him. And that's how we ended up back in sort of contact again.
That's brutal. So going back, we'll come to the arrest and the conviction and all of that, but going back to like the story and the start.
So the financial abuse was the sort of the beginning of like the first year, if you like, and then I think he moved in, it was maybe the May, and come this September I was pregnant with Stephen, my boy. So then that's me locked in. So it just gets sort of, the coercion just gets sort of worse and worse, and it was during this time I was pregnant and expected to be opening businesses, and I was like made redundant during my pregnancy. Do you know what I mean? Like, so so pregnant, and then I had Stephen, and then it was, this is something I'll not forget. So right, the night I brought Stephen home, we had one of these, like the steriliser things, where you load it up and it's like shelves and whatever. So I hadn't even, he was early, I just got told, like, you're going to have him now, the day, like, that's you going to get him. so not like half prepared. So didn't really know how to load the steriliser, so I'm in the kitchen and I'm standing looking at the instructions and he's doing it, and this is the night I brought my baby home, and I said, "You're doing that wrong," and he picked it up and threw it up in the air. And I was like, well, I've just brought my baby home, I shouldn't like be feeling like this, do you know what I mean? And I remember just going in my room and like sitting and like crying. So.
And was Stephen early premature? What was it you said?
He was premature, so it was, I think, the sort of, you know how you go for, I can't mind, right, but you go for a growth scan,
and it was
and
just
the placenta was sort of had done its job, so I had just get induced, and
right. Okay.
it was a horrendous
situation.
It was a bad labour. It was a bad labour.
And then you came home, brought him home to
stitched to the max. Aye.
And so for that point, how did it progress?
So obviously you've got a new baby. It's hard having a new baby. With Stephen was really hard. He had really bad reflux. So you were getting no sleep. He was sick all the time. So that heightened the stress in the house, and sort of the sort of nitpicking and falling out and whatever. And the cycle then became, he would be shouting and bawling with my wee baby in the house, so I would put him out, and what he would do was go and sleep in his van and guilt me, because you see he had nowhere to go, because he had a volatile relationship with his family that was on and off and on and off, and I'm going to a wee bit about that later. So he had nowhere to go, and I was basically putting him out. So then it was like put on me. It wasn't about his behaviour in our house with your wee tiny baby, and it was just like that. And then the controlling and like the isolation was also a big part of it. So Stephen, my best friend at the time, it was her 30th. So Stephen was born April. My best friend's 30th July. So what's that? Like 4 months, 3 months old, 3 months old. So there was a big crowd of us all to go to Dunoon for her 30th. I'm talking like 30 women. It was Scotchery a day, and we were all to stay overnight. But I was a bad mum if I left that Wayne for an overnight.
Who were you leaving him with?
Him.
His dad?
And he was more than capable. But it was all, I don't want to be left with him on my own and stuff like that, when it was actually not about that at all. It was, they used the words like, you shouldn't be doing that as a mother, leaving your baby at 3 months old. And I knew that was all, like I can.
I with his dad, like I've just said. It's,
do you know something?
No, even just his dad. My point is, the baby was going to be with his dad.
Mary, I wanted to ask you there, what do you think?
Oh no, I totally agree.
Because
with you. See,
I've always questioned everything, just because he would tell me.
I know, I feel like it's just kind of suddenly dawned on me. I feel like you're sitting here telling your story, thinking that me and the audience watching it are going to be judging you.
There's just such a stigma around it.
But, well, I personally don't really think there is. But then I do speak to a lot of people that are in your, or have been in your shoes, or maybe are in your shoes. And I'm a massive advocate for mums anyway, like massive, because I don't think there should be any guilt for any mother wanting to take some time out, ever, period, full stop, right? It's, as you've already said, it's an extremely difficult, isn't even a good enough word to describe it. It is mentally and physically taxing. You've just talked about the birth. You know,
Aye.
and I mean, I wanted to greet when you said he flipped the steriliser, because I'm then thinking, although I didn't ask you this, you're stitched within an inch of your life. You still need that fucking steriliser. You still need to feed your baby.
Aye.
So you probably had to get down on your hands and knees and clean up and pick it up
I can't really remember, Abby.
But you must have. You must have, Jen. You needed a steriliser for the wean.
It worked anyway.
Aye,
you got
to pick it up, because he wouldn't have picked it up.
I can't remember I would fight back. No, like, I'd argue back. Sometimes give as good as I got, but I remember just being totally like, I just walked away in silence and sat in my bed and cried. So I think I can't actually remember what happened.
But anyway,
Right,
I never
so
actually. But no, you will never find me judging you for decisions or things that you want you to do as a mother for yourself. Never. And I would never
just
say.
In the habit of a lifetime it is, because this is like half my adulthood, I feel like. Questioning myself. Am I doing right? Am I right?
No,
am I wrong?
but I know that you know that you shouldn't be.
I know.
It's like, I can tell that. You've done your research. You know that you never did anything wrong.
I know. It's so the thing with my best friend's birthday, I ended up getting into that, and basically he picked me up off the boat at, I think I was given a time, it was like 7 o'clock, I was to be back.
So you got to go for the day. But see, the other thing, the position that you're in then, right, as a mum, you are actually thinking, even although that is the baby's dad, can I actually leave my way and with you?
Right.
You know, you must have been thinking that as well.
I knew it was more of a control thing, and he had a problem with a couple of my pals as well.
But did he really? It was just easier to say that to control
but
you.
It was all part of the sort of whole thing. So for me, I was so embarrassed. You know, I was dead embarrassed by having to leave there, and like my best friend knew why I was leaving. You know what I mean? Like, some of my friends knew, some folk didn't, but it really embarrassed me. And then that leads me on to the whole thing where, you know, domestic abuse and it affects all your relationships with people. It affects your relationships with your friends, with your family, with your kids, with everybody, because you lose credibility with folk for going back and back and back all the time. You lose credibility for not putting your foot down where maybe somebody would. You know, like, and everybody's got different boundaries, where if they can see that yours are really low, or maybe you lose like credibility and unfortunately friends, I think.
But in saying that, all of that as well, if they're friends that aren't going to stick by you through a relationship like that, then my view would be, then so be it.
You can also, just one other point really, you can become dead reactive. You know the term reactive abuse. So you, during the relationship, you'd be goaded and you'd react. So I became a reactive person. So I'd react, and to my mum I'd be snippet. Do you know what I mean? And if I didn't maybe like my friend's advice or whatever, I would, do you know what I mean, react with them. So I was like, I was the worst version of myself as well, and I knew that. It's just, I just knew.
But it's that old thing as well, like, you do know now, and you are in a much better place, and it's all part of the process. And that's the other thing, it is a massive process. It isn't as easy as just saying. It just isn't. You can't just walk away from things immediately when it goes wrong.
No.
I mean, maybe some people can, but usually, as you have already said, it takes 7 on average, according to the statistics, times, right? But as you have already said as well, you feel like it was, you know, 7,000 times, and that's just the way that it is sometimes, you know, and it is pointless, I think, judging it. And as a friend, but it depends. You're saying you bit and all of that kind of thing as well. You know, if there's been arguments and you've both decided to go your separate ways as friends anyway, then that's a whole other different thing.
Aye.
But it's,
But
you know, as a process, it isn't as simple as just, you know, well, that happened and I should have just left.
No.
And, you know, it's so much more than that. It's so
Aye.
much deeper, and just, it's like a web. It's
It
like
is,
a web
it
of
is
so
a
many
web.
different things.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be, well, I suppose what I'm trying to say as well is, you know, don't beat yourself up about
I
that
know
now.
I know it's just a hard habit to get out of. So that's how I'm like thinking, talking about it and trying to help others will help me, because you make sense of it then. You know, it's stuck in the warped way of thinking, you know, like trying to untangle something you'll never untangle.
Aye, exactly. I know, and there does come a point. Somebody said
You
this to me
realise
very
that?
recently. See, instead of trying to constantly understand it, somebody said, gave me
Let
this
it by you.
advice. Aye, they went, gonna just accept it.
Let it go.
Just accept it, and
Yeah.
I move on.
So you're saying don't beat yourself up. So I've spent the last month working a lot on forgiving myself for these reactions and sort of things, and trying to forgive him as well, because I've been given that advice too.
I know. I struggle with that. I'm
I
gonna be
struggle
honest,
as
I do.
well. What I'm telling, how I'm sort of getting there is, he doesn't have the tools in his box.
Aye. And for you to deal with it, that's the easiest way to compartmentalize.
Well, I'm trying, right? I'm trying.
it. Aye.
I'm trying.
No, I get that. I know, and that's all fine as well. But anyway, getting back to the story, so that was an incident when the baby was
wee Stephen was, so it was just like incidents like that, sort of on and off. So we actually split up. We got his own flat.
So you split up when Stephen was a baby?
Aye, so maybe I can't think the timeline right, but he would take Stephen to his house, and sort of we would try the sort of co-parenting thing and all that, and that was warped, and we ended up getting back together. Trying to think if I've missed anything.
It doesn't really. Don't
So
worry
we get back
about
together
that.
anyway, and then so Eva, she was planned, because I was showing signs of early menopause, and my mum, she had sort of went through early menopause, but my youngest brother had kicked that off. So it was like, let's have a baby. I didn't just want to have one kid, and I was and it was probably one of the good times of the cycle. So it's like, let's have a baby. So, pregnant with Eva.
So this is, what did you say? Is there 5 years between them? Is that what you said? Aye.
there's
So
five.
there's 5 years.
So I was pregnant. I had her at this very sort of height of COVID, the start of COVID. So she's like 2020 baby.
That feels so recent, man.
So I was pregnant during COVID, and during my pregnancy, he was like drinking all the time, and he was sort of taking like street Valium. So I could tell, like, it was just total. So it was just a lot worse during like basically the year 2019 to 2020, whilst I was pregnant. So I had also gestational diabetes, and I used to keep this. Obviously I've got my wee notes there, right, and I found this. I used to have to take my blood sugars and stuff during my pregnancy, and I used to write in the diary what he did that day.
So you actually started.
I'd always done. I'll tell you
had
something. I'll tell you in a minute, right? So I was reading it, and it was like, he did this, blah blah blah, he did that. He was said he was going to blow up my car. Is one of the things I found, and I totally forgot about it. Totally forgot about that.
And that was when you were pregnant?
With Eva, aye. So during that time, back to the same thing, he would cause it, and I would put him out, and he would either sleep in his van, and if he couldn't get me back on side, you know, after a couple of days or one day, he would book into a sort of local hotel. So it just kind of went like that, sort of during the my pregnancy.
Where is that big loud noise? Oh, it's a cherry picker there. Sorry, I just couldn't see where it was, but I could hear it.
So that's sort of the way that went. And then when COVID came, and I think it was the March. I don't know if it was February or the March.
It was the 23rd of March we went into lockdown.
Right, so it was kind of in the March. And my granny was, so I'm 9 months pregnant, and my granny was sort of in and out of hospital, and because of COVID they let her home, and so basically she was dying. And because this is, I'll never forget this ever. So I obviously am pregnant and not allowed to go near her because COVID's like happening, and she died on the 2nd of April. And our funeral, I was still pregnant at our funeral, and it was at like 9 o'clock in the morning. There was only 6 folk allowed to go to the graveside. Folk weren't even allowed in the chapel at this stage. So it was a YouTube funeral. Haley in his bed, and let me watch that funeral myself. 9 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant. So that was just, I can't ever, like, I know that's not domestic abuse, but that's just something.
No, but it's just, well, it is a contributing factor to the abuse that you suffered.
So he was still absolutely mad with it, and obviously the COVID situation, we going into hospital was you were only allowed one like birthing partner, so it was either him or my mum that was to come. Now I knew I was in labour when I was going into labour, and it was at night it started, and he was already like half cut, and he was lying in bed with Stephen watching a film, and he's like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "I definitely am." He's like, "No, you're not." And him and Stephen basically fell asleep, and I was in full-blown labour.
Oh my God.
So I was on the phone to my friend, and I phoned up the hospital, and the lassie on the phone says to me, "Don't phone back until you can't speak through it."
Oh my God.
So it must have just been like, you know, like COVID in and out type, like, so I was like, right, so I knew a sort of time how long it was between contractions, but my friend
I'd have been freaking
but
man.
I've got screenshots on my phone, right? So every time I took one, I'd screenshot it and sent it to my pal, because I couldn't even tell her, phone again.
So you couldn't speak?
No, right, and she's like, right. So, long story short, I phone up and I say, I'm coming, and she's like, right, come on up, and I wake him up. And I phone my mum and I say, right, Mum, we need to go, you need to obviously take me. And I had to leave him with Stephen, and he took the wee deck chair I sat at my dressing table, took me down the stairs, I live in a main road, sat me on the main road, then went up the stair.
Oh my God.
At like 3 in the morning.
In labour.
And this, see that the lorries, they drive at 150 mile an hour at night, this big lorry's zoomed behind me, and I'm like, and I'm just sitting there waiting on my mum.
Oh my God, in labour.
No.
So your mum came and got you. How quickly did you have?
I got there, I was 7 centimetres dilated. So she came in, they says, we're going to take her and check her. You go to the car park, or else just go home. And then she went to the car park, sat till I phoned her, and I says, I'm 7 centimetres, come back in. So I went back in, it was a couple of hours, and I had her. And not a hard birth with her. It was totally different birth with her. I actually sat up because I smoke, right? And I was trying obviously to quit during my pregnancy, and I sat up and I was like, "Wife, does that look like a smoker's placenta?" So obviously kind of high on the thing, and she's like, "No, it's great." Totally different type of birth, and then I was out the next day. I had the gestational diabetes, so I had to stay in and get my blood sugars and whatever for 12 hours or something, but I just got out the next day, and he came up and he met us at the door, so I wheeled it out to the door because no visitors were allowed in.
And then you got up the road. And what was that like when you brought Eva home?
So it was Stephen's birthday the next day.
Aye, you said that there's only a day between
And I had
them.
a half homemade SpongeBob cake in my fridge that we never got. But I went home and he was still obviously under the influence, and I was like, we need to put birthday banners up for the wedding, you know, like in the morning. I remember he sellotaped a happy birthday banner to my wallpaper, and I was just like, it just shouldn't be like this, do you know?
Had you, by that point, well, you'd split up anyway and got back together, but had you at that point decided that one day you would split up from him? Or were you still just hoping
it was wavy.
that it would?
It was wavy. Honestly,
up and down.
Aye, it was wavy. But I was starting to realise. So then we can go on to the sort of TikTok part of it, because I was starting to.
Aye, because I've known you, so that is how I know you. And you were on Instagram. Because I remember you messaging me on Instagram. Or have I made that up?
I had Instagram years ago, and then
No, even in the last 3 or 4
do you know,
years.
I really connected with your podcast with Emma.
A lot of people say that.
Right?
Aye.
And I think I added you then, and I might have messaged you and says loved that or whatever.
Aye. Positive mum of 2, she's called now.
Fierce mum.
Aye. Yep.
Aye.
That is
So,
who you're talking about. That's what I thought.
So that's when I followed you and you followed me back.
Aye.
So that was a week years ago.
Then was
I
that
think.
not on Instagram?
No,
Was it on TikTok?
I think so. Aye, because I
seen-
didn't have.
So you didn't? I don't know
I
why
did
I
have
thought that.
Instagram, but I was on Instagram as the Ginger Hincher. I used to do like a wee hinching page.
Oh, nah, I don't remember that.
So-
Right, but it was during Emma was one of the first ones that I did in my first year. So what is?
So
a
you
couple of years
basically
ago.
you asked me, did I think I was going to finish with him and whatever, and I'm saying it was wavy, right? So TikTok obviously comes out, and I'm in the house. What is it? Board in the house. I'm in the house board. You know, that. So, and then you go onto TikTok, and then you obviously create your own algorithm. And mine started to be narcissists, abuse, cycle of it, because I was obviously watching stuff and liking stuff, and so I was starting to become wise to it, if you know what I mean. So what happened after Eva was born, basically, between, I can't give you dates, but within a year I had to report 3 police incidents, because he would, you know, if I would put him out down to an argument or whatever, he would threaten to commit suicide. So it was sort of the third time it happened. He sent me a video, and he was blaming me for it, but obviously I'm not going to take any chance, and I phoned the police every time he did that. I phoned the police because I didn't want him to go on top of himself if he was
That was basically
not
what he
under
was saying.
under the influence as well. So the third incident, the police ended up getting him and arresting him, and they came out to me. So when they came out to me, one of the police officers was obviously speaking to me. The other police officers got my phone, looking at the video. So that police officer's going through my phone. While the other police officer's speaking to me. And she was like to me, do you know that this is classed as abuse? Do you know that you're being abused? And
Was that the moment?
well, I did know, but I was wavy. Sort of like, it makes you, honestly, it makes you feel insane. Like, it makes you feel insane, like you're so manipulated.
Aye, that's what
And
a narcissist
confused.
does, wants you to believe
And
you're insane.
confused, and you're told you're mentally ill. You're told you've got postnatal depression, and it's basically it's because of you that they do these things. Do you know what I mean? So the police officer could basically see on my phone what was going on, and these are uniformed police officers. So they first, I think he was charged with like violent, serious crime at first.
So they were able to do that and proceed with that based on what they saw on your phone.
And there was bail conditions just for my phone. And
that
there was
shows you how bad it was.
Well, there was bail conditions right away. So this happened in the December of 2020. So Eva was like 8 months old. Is that right? Aye. So this happened in the December, and there was like bail conditions put in place right away there and then. So whether I wanted to, I couldn't. So he was then homeless, and then obviously then social work and stuff like that get involved and rehoused him and stuff like that. And that's when the lawyers did the contact with the kids through the lawyers. But he went AWOL for like the first 4 months or something. Then that's when I said I had to get my car back. And so the police, the uniformed police, then sent the domestic abuse police out. So they are a different unit. So they're ununiformed police. So they came out and they said they were basically asked me what it was like. So I gave them like a kind of short version of what I'm telling you. And I said I was trying to blame it on like his addiction issues, and I was probably playing it down as well a wee bit. And I always remember saying to this police officer, "You only hit me twice." But he only hit me twice.
Oh my God. And
the police officer was like that. He still hit you. So then I was to go give a statement, proper full statement. So that he was arrested in December, and I didn't get my statement together. I think it was until the January, because they were coming out at me all the time, and they were running what you call a psychoms on the phones. So I think that's a sort of, from what I've asked a police officer this, I think they can basically get whatever they need off your phone. You know, like, so I had like time-stamped pictures along. So what I used to gaslight me so much, right? So we'd have a fight, and then at the makeup bit, you'd want an apology, or you'd want like a resolution. But he would never sort of admit anything. So I started to actually leave my phone on video record, so that I could go at him the next day. You did say that.
That's how bad it was. He was arguing black was white
all the time. So just so happens I have him assaulting me on, you can hear the sound, and then I've got the time-stamped pictures of the black eye and the bruises for the next like times. So I've got the sound and I've got the pictures like twice. Type thing.
So the 2 times that he hit you, you had it recorded?
No, I can't really remember. I had pictures of the first time. I'm not sure if I had video then, but the last time he did hit me, yes, I had it. You could hear it, and it's sort of the sort of court. I don't really want to get into no court documents and stuff like that, but basically, it corroborated with my statement type thing. So you can hear in the video. So he had his hand around my throat. So you can hear me in the video sort of coughing and choking. I'm trying to physically get him out of my house. So then he's trying to obviously choke me, and then at one point I knew I was going to get done in. Like, I could just see the black in his eyes. So my kids are sleeping. I went into I walked right into my kitchen, because I couldn't get him out. He wouldn't go. He was just storming up and down and up and down. My baby was sleeping. And I went into my kitchen and I basically got on my floor and I put my head in my hands like that, and you can hear him bumping into me, and you can hear it. So then obviously the next day I'm black and blue. Aye, so I had, so he was obviously arrested in the December 2020. It didn't go to court until June 2023, my birthday.
Oh my God.
My birthday.
Oh my God.
Had to go. So there was that many times. It was like, I don't know what you call it. You actually just become a witness. You've not got a lawyer telling you things. The PF isn't your lawyer. The Procurator Fiscal's there for the public. You're just a witness. So I was to go and give the evidence at the trial on my birthday.
Did you pursue that conviction, or was that the police based on the evidence you had on your phone?
Aye, the police. The police basically arrested him outside my house and then took him and arrested him there and then and put the bail conditions in place there and then before the domestic abuse police even came out to me.
So we're up to December 2023.
No, 2020. So it took two and a half years to it basically took like 2.5 years to go to court.
Aye, so then you're in.
So I'm in the witness.
So you're in that time though, from him getting arrested that night to you getting into court as a witness. Did you have contact with him throughout that?
Yes, but that's all I'm going to say just now.
That's fine. Okay, so what then happened? Because we're now right up to December, just there, last December.
Well, so June 23.
Or June, sorry,
so it's not
I'm
birthday.
getting confused.
So he got arrested
it was
in
December
2020.
Right
so the point is, it took 2.5 years to even go to court.
Yeah, right, so that's hell.
And obviously the COVID situation and the backlog. So I go to court and basically the PF comes to speak to me and she asks me, would I accept a deal? Would I be okay if she made a deal? A plea deal, is that like, so I didn't want to have to give evidence, of course, but so I was like, aye, whatever. So he pled guilty. So I think, I don't actually know, but I know he was convicted of domestic abuse 2018 Act. So that he was convicted of it. So I think the way that, because that was all reformed, that Domestic Abuse Act, everything, so like the coercive control, the financial control, the assault, it all gets wrapped up into the one charge. So that's what he was charged with. And I don't know really what they dropped, if you know what I mean, but he was basically charged and done with domestic abuse. And then it was August last year that he went back for sentencing. So he got a tag on. So I wrote to the judge and asked for leniency. And I went to the court and watched the sentencing. So I'm basically, I don't think that my letter to the judge probably never had any effect on it, because I think it's obviously their decision in the end up. But he got sort of 240 hours community service. He got a tag on for 9 months and a £750 fine and a non-harassment order with special conditions that he was allowed to be in contact with me that was just about the kids. So then obviously I was allowed to be in contact with him about the kids. So that was from the August. So that was August 23. So you've only got August, September, October until I have had no contact. Do you know what I mean? So he had the tag on. So basically I had to stay in his house after 7 o'clock at night. And whose fault was that? So he just made sort of my co-parenting life hell from then on in. So when he was supposed to have the kids, he would maybe not show up for them. He would block me when he had them. I wouldn't know if he'd given them medication. Just like, and then I would maybe go to like his house and whatever. It was just another way in to get to me, using the kids and access through them. And there was one time I was getting shouted at off him, and I had to leave Stephen with him, and I had to take Eva, and she was saying, "Mummy, I'm scared, Mummy, take me home." And it was that moment, I think, I was like, I can't do this to them. It was them, not about me. I can't, this isn't any good for them. Do you know? So then I just blocked him, went no contact. And he never made any attempt to see the kids through the third party. So and I just left it. Normally I would contact. I just left it. And then my boy Stephen, he's got a phone, so he texted him and he says, "Dad, why are you not seeing us?" And he said to him, "Your mum's not letting me." Stephen says, "She is. You're supposed to do it through so and so." And he says, I can't explain it and whatever. And he blocked my boy.
So his own way, he's blocked. So is that the current situation now?
Aye. So the current situation now, basically he moved on straight away. Actually, something, you're not going to believe this, right? And I swear to God, this is true, right? I'm sitting on my couch with wee Stephen, and we're scrolling TikTok together. There's a TikTok come up on my FYP of him in his underpants dancing. And Stephen's like, "Is that my dad?" I was like, "Aye." So then, because I had been saying, like, he must just be working, he must be away for work or something, and obviously Stephen was only like, he's still young, do you know what I mean? He remembers the police. He was actually interviewed by the domestic abuse police when he was 5, but so he kind of learned to sort of, that was his normal, do you know? So his dad being back and forward was normal to him. So he was easily pacified, if you know what I mean. If I would just say, you know, like, I'm sure he'll be in touch soon and whatever. And then obviously he moved on right away. He then made a big thing of it on his Facebook. It was like a matter of weeks. And then I was notified sort of come, I think it was the February or something like that, he was relocated. He'd moved like 40 miles away.
So he's having...
So basically, and then I've had wee different bits of information for folk, because it's like quite, obviously it's textbook stuff, this now, that's narcissistic behaviour, moving on right away, like no empathy for your kids, you know, that sort of thing. Like, people have told me some stuff, and it's like, the week he got his tag off, he had his engagement party.
Oh my God.
And it's so, like, so that would have been, I think, in May, just. So, and his kids don't know where he is. Well, his son does now. But, do you know what I mean? And then you've got the wee one, she was only 3/turning 4. And she was saying things to me like, "Why is Peppa Pig got a daddy and I've not?" Like, she just couldn't. And I'm like, "Your daddy's working." And then I used to have to, our nursery was quite close to where his house was. I used to have to, like, avoid passing his house so that it didn't trigger her. And then, so it was, I was dealing, for the first few months, I was dealing with how he explained to these kids, "Where's my dad?" and I'm not telling them, do you know what I mean? I'm not like, he's up for his new birds and heroin. No, that's just not my style. I want to protect them from all this
it's only
mental,
natural to protect them.
like trauma. I want to protect them from trauma. So, that means we Stephen are like that. He knows I'm here today. He wants me to help other people, and he doesn't think he's not embarrassed by me. I'm saying I'm thriving now, so I needed to do something to get out of survivor mode. So I'm helping people, maybe.
Yeah, this is part. Yeah.
And try and like healing. It's healing to get it off your chest, and sort of it is. It is as well. So
no, I know that. I'm proud of your weighing. I don't even know. So I can't imagine how proud, or I can only imagine how proud you must feel.
I'm so proud, because when I was looking for this, right, so the wee notes thing, I used to write a wee note at Christmas time and put it away in with my Christmas tree. So I found it the next year when I was bringing my Christmas tree back out. And it would be like, oh, you ruined it by doing this, but this happened and this happened. So I would always remember back, because I think you don't know what happens, you forget, everything becomes muddled up, and I used to always write wee notes of things. So when I was like looking through stuff to prepare for this, I found like he's had like head teacher awards and like achievement awards through all this. Like he's fine, they're so resilient, and so like now they're totally fine and happy. It's just obviously the worry is when they get older, the innocence in their minds, they will then know what he has done, really understand it. Do you know?
And they're fine, as you say, because you've made sure of it, because they've got you. I
think it's this is where it's so important for it to be more talked about and not stigmatised, because it's really the kids and their relationship with folk and things that is affected by it, you know. And so their sort of course of life has changed since me becoming a solo parent. So like the attention, there's only one of me.
It does affect you as well, though. You're important as well.
It's only one of me. It's only one income household type thing. But I've got great support and sort of my family and friends. So, I mean, it's hard, but it's better. It's better for them. I'm happier and more at peace, and I can give more of myself, my actual self, not my like fight or flight mode self to them, my actual peaceful self.
I just want to like finish on the stuff that you've done, because I think that's really important as well, as part of your healing, and also Women's Aid. You've not mentioned that, and I know, so I'm not sure where that fits in, but I know that was important to you.
So Women's Aid is obviously, you connect with folk, you end up, you find out who else has been through it and whatever, and you connect with folk, and sort of like, no, Women's Aid for me is I'm going to try my best. I'm applying just now to be a volunteer for them.
Did you ever contact them?
I've been in and sat in front of somebody. But then COVID as well, the full sort of facility of Women's Aid wasn't really there at the time. So I did other things on Teams and stuff like that, but I didn't need refuge or anything like that.
I know, but they supported you.
Yeah. So you go, like, I think I've mentioned this a million times now, you go from this like mode of thinking, or maybe it's just part of the journey, you're a victim, and then you're a survivor. So you can either claw your way out of that, you can't be stuck in survivor forever. So but I was traumatised, and I felt, you know, like I kept getting into a state of fight or flight mode, even during this no contact. Like, I would get a phone call from a no-caller ID and go into a full-blown panic attack. Like, he texted my pal. I've had contact that way. He texted my pal, like, at hours in the morning. That sent me into absolute panic attack. That's the sort of contact. And I just was like, I can't live in this fight or flight mode anymore, because it's not serving me. I'm free. I'm free from it. So I ended up just, I wasn't doing the right things to cope. I feel like it was funny. I watched your podcast with Holly and the boys, and she talks about Snappy Shopper, right? And so, like, one of the things that you did to cope with at the start was, like, I say, like, you know, the Red Sea, I fucking paid Snappy Shopper to bottle that for me, and I drank it dry, like. So that wasn't helpful. I just knew I had to, and I work full time. So I'm working full time, trying to go to the office, nursery runs, school runs, football, do you know, like, just stressed to the max. I just, like, basically had to hit I'm at burnout stage, and I had to took time off, and I went to the Polar Bear Club.
I know you saw that as well. I know, and I saw you at that.
So for me, I've fallen in love with that whole concept of fight or flight mode's a state of mind, right? Which, like, it's your mind that takes over your body, and if your body's used to that, that long
it becomes
time,
your pattern,
yes,
normal pattern.
So I don't think any talking therapy alone is going to be able to sort that. So when I went in there with Kenny, I put myself into fight or flight mode, and I breathed myself right out of that, do you know, and I had a wee bit of talking therapy with him as well, and I just knew from that moment on, this is not going to beat me. I'm going to thrive from this moment on. I'm going to, like, probably drink once a week now, do you know, like, 48 hours later, Mary, I bought a pod. You know what I mean?
To get the cold water pod.
So it's like I'm going to physically train my body to come out of fight or flight mode and stop sort of just, like, dwelling in it. Told you, sort of working on, like, just let it go, forgive, move on. I've got this. Do you know what I mean?
And for what it's worth, I think you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
And I know that you do talk wee bits on TikTok, and I'll do a wee video, and you're going to be tagged, and people will be able to hopefully follow you through that and follow. Are you all right now? Look, we're at 1 hour and 7 minutes. We're at the end. You're all right.
Don't touch my hands, they're soaking.
Well, you did really well, and I think, God, it's so important. The way that you tell it is incredible.
Do you think so?
Aye, I do, and I knew you were doubting
I thought
yourself.
it was going to be like verbal diarrhea.
No.
Just because it's misplaced, and, like, you see
But it
a
doesn't
whole web.
matter. It is, but that's what it is. Any sort of relationship, anything at all you're involved in the world, isn't just black and white. And I'm constantly trying to say that myself. I wish people would see more of the bigger picture.
What I want to just really make a point in for other people, and it's because everyone can be affected by it, men as well. Obviously, your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle, your daughter, your cousin. I feel as if you need to educate yourself whether you're affected by it or not. Because it's like, I saw this somewhere and it sticks with me. You need to educate to eradicate. So folk need to understand red flags, cycle of abuse, narcissistic abuse, what it can look like, you know.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
No.
So you need to go and find out to know. And that's when labels do matter. Because I always say that as well. I know people talk about, labels, and there can be a detrimental side to a label, but when it comes to abuse especially, it needs to be categorised so that you can
There's so much
address it.
that
But
goes
it's
on.
only you, it's only the person that's affected by it that can do that. Nobody else can really tell you, aye, that policewoman did, you know, was that a woman?
Aye, because she said, do you want a hug? And I said, aye.
Aye.
She's like, do you want a hug?
Sometimes that's,
I was like, she probably wasn't allowed, so sorry if I get you in trouble.
I doubt it. I think she would have been allowed.
Well,
under
she
the
asked me and I
circumstances.
said yes, so
Aye.
consented.
So we'll end it there. Thank you for coming to share your story. It's extremely powerful. Extremely powerful, and I hope you do realise that.
Thanks, Mary.
All right, my lovely. Right, see you later. Bye.